What is up, everybody? Welcome to another live stream with me, Joshua Thomas, on the Phil Road Express. We are here to talk about Final Fantasy VII and the remake and all of the Final Fantasy VII Ultimania that may come up. So, before I go any further, make sure that you know that there are spoiler alerts for basically anything involving Final Fantasy VII, primarily the OG and remake, and who knows, we might just predict what Part 2, Part 3, and maybe Part 4 are going to encompass in this video. But in order to do that, we've got to talk about the remake Part 1 because it takes place entirely in Midgar, and there is this misjudgment, which is what this video is going to be all about. And that misjudgment is that Midgar is only 4 hours long, or Midgar only takes like 10% of the original game. And I've seen this throughout the past year, ever since people started reviewing the remake. They're saying, oh, hey, you know, this remake takes place entirely in Midgar, and Midgar's only, 7-10% of the original game. It only takes 3 hours to get through. It only takes 4 hours to get through, or 5 hours to get through. And I want to debunk that right now. I'm thinking all these stats that people are giving, I think there's two reasons they're kind of giving these incorrect stats, and I think number one is just that they're just kind of guessing. They're either going based off of something they heard someone else say, or either their most recent playthrough of the OG Final Fantasy VII, they just were able to play through it really fast because they knew exactly where to go. So for me, I'm going to say right now, and it says it, in the thumbnail, Midgar is 25% of the original game. Feel free to comment on that in the live chats, whichever direction those live chats are in. I think it's over there. But yeah, live chat's open, so feel free to comment. I'll try to answer questions if I see them pop up. And but yeah, I'm saying Midgar is 25% of the original game, and this is important because we need to accurately depict the original Midgar portion of the game to give accurate estimations for how many future installments there's going to be of the remake, and to figure out exactly where these portions may end or begin. So we might be able to predict not just Part 2, but Part 3 and Part 4, if it's a four-parter. So it also, the reason we need to get the record straight for the Midgar portion is because it kind of diminishes the value of Midgar in the original game to say that, oh, Midgar is only 10%, it only takes 4 hours. So I don't exactly know how long this video will be. I think that'll largely just depend on how much engagement we get. I see that we've got a few people watching right now, so I want to welcome you guys, and I appreciate you coming to check me out. So I'm going to show you guys, first off, my playthrough, just the section where I actually leave Midgar, and then I save it so that you guys can see how long it took me on my most recent playthrough to actually make it through the Midgar portion of the 1997 Final Fantasy. So let's find that right here. Alright, so the characters have just left Midgar for the first time. We've got our party members. We're going on to the world map. And I paused to read the little world map saving thing because I haven't played the game. This is my first playthrough of the game in years. So, and there we are at 7 hours, 21 minutes, and 30-something seconds. So we'll just say that I left Midgar at around 7 hours and 20 minutes. So if we're saying that Midgar is 25% of the original game, and it took me 7 hours 20 minutes, if we multiply that by 4 to get 100%, we're going up to almost 30 hours, I think, of total gameplay. So for mine, let's switch back to this right here, just so you guys can see, just so you guys can have a little something down here in the bottom. So if I think a lot of people get this misconception about the Midgar portion only being 10%, and one of the big reasons is because of the world map in general and side quests. Once you are out of Midgar, you can just go and get lost on the world map, and finding your way through the world map, especially for first-time players, having not played a game like this in some time. It's been 2 decades since we really had a game with a world map like this. It might be a little confusing to people, and even when I was playing it originally as a young teenager, it was, it didn't hold your hand. It didn't tell you where to go. It just said, hey, look for a town called Calm. That's where we're heading to next. And then you're out on the world map, and you're trying to figure out where to go from Midgar to get to Calm. So there's that sense of being able to get lost on the world map. But then I'll show you some footage of side quests. Specifically, these are the side quests that you can do early on in the game. This is the side quest for the getting Yuffie, so I'm searching through the forests near Junon and Fort Condor. And then you'll see some footage of the old-fashioned Fort Condor battle, so you'll get to see some of that old stuff if you've only ever played the Yuffie DLC for Remake or Intergrade. So it took me, I want to say, 20 minutes wandering through the forests, not using the strategy guide, which I've got it right here. Not using the strategy guide, but just trying to wing it on my own and make the right decisions once you beat Yuffie. And I don't know, I can't remember which one I show, but in this one might be the one where I think this is the one where I go to the save point, because I'm like, oh man, I'm going to save so I can just reload the game and make sure that I make the right choices if I mess up. And yeah, she dupes me. If you were here for the opening, yeah, you saw that. She dupes me. So, but I think I encounter her 2 more times before I actually answer all the right questions and give all the right responses in order to actually get her in my party. Yeah, so she steals the gil from Tifa. It took me 20 minutes wandering the world map near Fort Condor and Junon to actually acquire Yuffie, and then I also grinded for a few minutes to gain money for the Fort Condor section. Overall, I think just wandering through Fort Condor, talking to the NPCs, and actually participating in the Fort Condor battle mini-game, which you're going to see here. I need to make a separate video just on this alone, because I definitely want to compare the original Fort Condor to the new one, which is a board game, whereas in this one, this was actually a battle scenario where you're actually hiring troops to defend Fort Condor against Shinra soldiers. But I think this one also took me roughly 20 minutes to get through, and then another example is also at the Gold Saucer. I spent 20 minutes or 30 minutes, something like that, just in the Gold Saucer playing the arcade games alone. And I think I've got some footage of one of the arcade games in here as well. So side quests are abound, and not just side quests, but just side things, mini games to play once you leave Midgar, and wandering the world map, doing side quests, and just having fun. really fluffs up the time once you get out of Midgar, your gameplay time. But overall, if you just play through the game, if you only play through the key story elements, then what's going to happen is you're probably going to end up with a playtime that's close to, if not slightly above, 30 hours. Which just, brings me back to that whole, hey, it took me 7 hours and 20 minutes to get out of Midgar, and that wasn't my first time playing. It was my first time and in many years, but that was probably my third or fourth time actually playing through the game. So for a first-time player to the game, the Midgar portion in the original is probably going to take, I would guesstimate, around 8 hours, given time for trial and error and wandering around trying to figure out where to go next. Because, once again, the OG does not hold your hand. It doesn't, have some mini-map that you can pop up and say, hey, your next objective is, over here. But to illustrate the point a little bit more, there's the gold saucer fighting in the arcade room. I can't wait to see this in the remake part 2. So yeah, leave a comment if you can't wait to see the gold saucer, and let me know what you're looking forward to most in the gold saucer. But so I looked up speed runs for many different types of OG speed runs. I didn't realize there were so many, and one of the more, I was trying to find one that was just, hey, this is me playing through the game normally, but as fast as I can, like not opening unnecessary treasure chests or going through unnecessary puzzles. This is just me fighting like regular, like you see here, and just reading the dialogue and not doing anything extra, not talking to extra NPCs or anything like that. And I didn't find any. The closest thing I found was just a normal playthrough by, who is it? By puwexil, or puwexil, I think. He did what he called a normal speed run, in which basically the way that you cut down on a lot of the time is that you just run from unnecessary or random battles. So you just run from every single one of them. You only fight the boss fights. He was able to speed run out of Midgar playing without any cheats or DLC or any kind of add-ons that you can put on the computer version. He made it out just under 2 hours. So to break down his speedrun for you guys, it's really interesting too. He kind of illustrates the whole Midgar is 25% of the OG point as well, because his, let's see, he leaves Midgar at 1 hour and 59 minutes. I accidentally wrote 29 because I'm dyslexic. But he leaves Midgar at 4 hours and 1 minute, which is, 2 hours later. So we're kind of like, hour 59, come on, that's 2 hours. 2 hours after that, he escapes Rocket Town. 2 hours after that, he escapes Junon after being sentenced to death as Tifa. So this is after you lose Cloud. And then a little over 2 hours after that, he beats the game. So once again, we have Midgar being the first quarter of his gameplay, making it all the way past Nibelheim up to Rocket Town as his second hour of game, or his second quarter of gameplay. The hunt for Sephiroth continuing and trying to gather the large materias and the black materia at the Temple of the Ancients is his third quarter, and then his final quarter is finding Cloud after he's been lost, and then finishing out the game with the final battle with Sephiroth. So it's almost perfectly broken down into quarters with Midgar. So yeah, I've got everything written down. Like, I had to speedily write everything down on just a notepad because I was definitely a little underprepared for this game or this video, so I do apologize if I stutter or anything like that. Let me see. Let me make sure that our stream quality is good. We're losing stream quality. I'm going to keep going. Everything should be good. YouTube says it's not receiving enough video data. It looks like I can see it there, like I can see it playing, so we'll continue. We will continue. Just let me know in a comment if I freeze or anything, and we'll see what we can do to fix it. So if we go into the strategy guide, I took pictures of certain pages in the strategy guide, which, let's see, I will show you. Let me get those prepared. According to this, I can still see myself, so I hope everything is coming through clearly. We will make this full screen. All right, so what you're seeing now is page 26. That is where the actual walkthrough of the so you see the Assault on Mako Reactor 1. Sorry for the freaking paper towel also in the photo. So if we go to the very end of Midgar, we got the boss fight with Motorball, and then after that you can see down there, you can see is the scene where they actually leave Midgar. I hope you guys can see this. I'm not seeing it on my stream. That is a shame. Oh man, hold on. That's strange. All right. Let me see if I can fix this. Oh, hey, it's because I didn't transition over. I'm a dummy. I'm a doofus. All right. You guys can see it now. I can... I am so sorry. I forgot to hit the transition button on OBS. All right. So here we've got... Let me backtrack here. So now we're on page... of the first page of the walkthrough, page 26, where you go at the Assault on Mako Reactor 1. Then we go 40 pages in, and we have the Motorball fight, and down here is the picture, the frame where they are leaving Midgar. So that's 40 pages in, and the whole walkthrough in this book, which is the original strategy guide to the game. This whole walkthrough is 150 pages of this strategy guide, and that doesn't include some of the side quests that you can do later on in the game, and it also doesn't include some of the smaller stuff like getting Yuffie, getting Vincent, that kind of stuff. So if we consider 40 pages in the strategy guide to be 25% of the game, and the first remake was the Midgar portion, what happens if we go 40 more pages into the strategy guide? And I think this is pretty interesting because you're going to see that it kind of corresponds with that speedrun that we just talked about. And I'll leave a link to the speedrun. Once this stream is over, I'll be sure and paste a link to the speedrun at the end of this video and in the comment section or in the video description. That way you guys can see that speedrun that I'm talking about. But here we are at page 105, which is 40 more pages in, and once again, puwexil was leaving Rocket Town, and here we are entering Rocket Town. So that could be our 50% mark, which could be where part 2 of the remake ends. Lots of the really well-known YouTubers who cover Final Fantasy VII and the remake and all the speculations and the Ultimania, the expanded universe, they're estimating that Nibelheim could be a good stopping point for the remake Part 2. And it would make sense because, hey, we start with a flashback to Nibelheim at the very beginning of Part 2, and if you watch the Yuffie DLC, you definitely know that they are setting us up to just jump directly into it. So if we start in Nibelheim and we come full circle to Nibelheim, that would make for a good story arc. But there's also the possibility of other ending spots as well. Places like past the Temple of the Ancients or the City of the Ancients, past points that, some really, really important things happen with really important characters. And I won't go any further into that because I might just cry on camera. I mean, because the remake Tifa, and man, she's so awesome. Did I say Tifa? I meant Aerith. Slip of the tongue there. I totally meant to say Aerith. I messed that up. Alright. So let's go 40 more pages in to the original player guide, and we make it to Midgar. And page before this is the escape from from Junon, which was also the 75% mark for puwexil's speedrun. So escaping from Junon after being imprisoned and sentenced to death, Midgar is the next place you head to, or the next place that you're supposed to head to. But you've got the high wind at that point, so it's literally a search for Cloud. You're searching the world trying to find where Cloud ended up. But it's corresponding. So we've got a strategy guide and a speedrun showing that 75% of the way through the game is Midgar, the place where you find Cloud. And once again, you leave Tifa there, you go on some adventures without her, and then some really powerful moments happen inside the live stream. Oh man, there's so many things we could talk about when it comes to the live stream. So many things. Let's see here. Our analytics, okay, our stream quality is good now. And then, so from here, this could be the beginning of the fourth game if they break it up into 4 parts. But when we get to page 175, which is the final boss fight, that last portion would add up to just 30 pages. So from Midgar to the final boss fight is 30 pages, but you guys know as well as I do, having played the remake, they are adding in a ton of stuff. So they've buffed up that first 40 pages in this rulebook of Midgar. No doubt they are going to buff up the next 40 pages or however far they go. But I think, you can agree with me or disagree with me. I hope you'll leave your own thoughts based on the evidence that I have shown you guys. And I think that those are some pretty interesting stats right there. The fact that Midgar is 25% of the way through the strategy guide, 25% of the way through a guy's speed run. I haven't had a chance to look up tons of speed runs, but from what I have seen, there have definitely been very similar outcomes where, whenever you exit Midgar in the speed run, it's almost the 25% mark of that entire speed run for the OG. But yeah, so we might just be able to infer the next 3 to 4 parts with the strategy guide. And actually, let me come out of this. We'll come back here. All right. So if anybody wants to see any other pages of this strategy guide, speak now. I'll give a few more thoughts and then we'll close out the video. But if you've been sticking with me so far and you've enjoyed the stuff that I've said, hopefully it didn't sound like just some psychobabble. Hopefully it made sense to you. I really appreciate it. Hope you will smash that like button. Consider subscribing if if this isn't my first stream that you've watched, or even if it isn't the first video on the Fell Road that you've watched. But yeah, so I'm going to go on and say that I want to make one more prediction. I'm going to predict right now, and I don't know if anybody else has done this, that Square plans to end the remake series in 2027. That'll be the 30-year anniversary of the release of the original game. So I'm thinking that we could see 2 to 3 more games published in that amount of time. It's really up in the air how far they're going to be able to go with the new engine, Unreal Engine 5, which I believe is what they are using to create. They used Unreal 4 for the remake part 1, and Unreal 5 is going to be used moving forward. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. But since they're using Unreal 5, the ease of creating an open world or a huge multi-track linear world, whichever one they are planning on creating, the ease of creating video games in Unreal Engine 5 could allow them to break the bounds and go further. But I forget if it was Nojima or which of the producers it was who was stated as saying that they, given the choice, they would rather come out with multiple parts closer together than come out with fewer parts that are spaced more years apart. So if they make 4 total remake parts, I would estimate that they're going to try to come out with them every 2 years, 2 to 2.5 years. And if they only make 2 more parts, so make it a 3-parter, then it's going to be 3-year gaps. But either way, that gets us really close to the year 2027, the 30th anniversary of the OG game. So, I have been Joshua Thomas on the Fell Road Express. I really appreciate everybody sticking around this long. Hope you will check out more board game and video game videos, and be sure to leave me your thoughts on where you think not just part 2 is going to go, but how they're going to split up the rest of the parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And also, just let me know what you think. Do you believe Midgar is 25% of the OG? And do you believe Midgar in the remake is 25% of the entire remake? Let me know in a comment below. Thanks for watching. Check you next time.